Today in the crypto space, the Trump and dump continues. Bitcoin right around 8.5% to the downside, Ethereum approximately 15% to the downside, and the rest of the crypto space. These altcoins are definitely bleeding out, some of them making a full retracement back to previous price action from the weekend. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, and I want to focus on Bitcoin. I want to focus on what the heavyweight is doing. Are we expecting a lower low? Are we going to get a change of character with a higher low? Are we going to continue this bull run? So you know what? Let's talk about the news, let's analyze the charts, and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike, and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome on the channel. We talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunity. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of the volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 8 p.m. EST, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. All right, guys, let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with this market. We see that the market cap is definitely rolling over, and obviously led by Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all of these projects are rolling over. But we have to give it a play-by-play. We know that Trump came out yesterday with some bullish news with regards to reserves, and of course naming Cardano, Solana, XRP, and then coming back and saying, let's not forget Ethereum and Bitcoin. And we got a lot of good green price action yesterday, a lot of good gains, and of course a lot of good profits. If you've been taking some profits off those, you should have been. And if you missed out on all of those, I would suggest that you find a great community that's willing to kind of help navigate the conditions, because ultimately the magic happens before the pump, right? We have to analyze what is happening prior to the pump, and Bitcoin is a great leading indicator. This is why today I want to focus on Bitcoin, because if ultimately Bitcoin shows us a sign of strength at any given point upon this pullback, upon this retracement, it could be an indication that we are getting a confirmation low. So that's something that I definitely want to focus on. But before we talk about Bitcoin, let's take a look at this market cap and scrape through the market to get a sense of an idea of what's happening here. We can see the market cap is now below the $3 trillion mark. We came down approximately 10%. And what I find very interesting here is that as we were rallying up, we got market participation. As we are coming down, market participation is falling, which means that the market in general is not really in consensus with this dip. There's way more volume to the upside than there is to the downside, which means market participation is not in consensus. So I'm quite interested in seeing how this progresses. A lack of volume gives us an idea that could be an easier moment for support. And as Bitcoin comes down and finally closed that CME gap that was left over the weekend, a record-breaking CME gap. And of course, a lot of people have been talking about the CME gap in the last little while. You know, it is a great sign that maybe we've hit a bottom. We'll talk about the Bitcoin chart in a second. Let's scrape through the top 100 real quick. And you can see that a lot of these projects right now are down approximately 15 to 20% on average, more or less. You can see that even BNB is down, but still BNB is doing pretty good, guys. It's holding up. It's only down 7% in comparison to the rest. You can see a lot of dips, guys. Tons, 15 to 20% on average, give or take, depending on the project you're looking at. I would say that that would be, you know, an expected pullback. We have Ondo, we have Aptos, we have many projects rolling over and coming down. However, because yesterday was such a green day, all we're really doing is tapping into some of the gains on some of them, right? Like, for example, Polygon, Matic is breaking down, and it broke down pretty hard to the point that it might be breaking structure to the downside, making lower lows. Not a good look. And if you look at the opposite end of the spectrum, you can look at, for example, if you look at Cardano, ADA, it ran up like crazy, 70%, and yeah, it lost about 20% of its gains in the last little while. Okay, that's fine, but we're willing to make that sacrifice given the fact, right, that it did pump 70%. Now, the question is, are we coming down further? And are altcoins going to take a bigger hit here, given the fact that they've ran up pretty hard, a lot of them, a few of them did run up pretty hard, and we're waiting on some others. Now, the question is also, is Bitcoin going to finally give us a confirmation for a continuation upwards and finally continue you some strength in this market. Okay, so we do see good pullbacks. Like Sonic, my opinion, right now, DCAing is the best idea possible. Now, obviously, I'm going to be releasing some videos about Sonic and many other projects in the next couple of days, because as Bitcoin dips, we're going to get fire sale opportunities. I like buying every single 20% dip, but today, instead of buying Sonic, I bought some on Shadow. So for me, that's one way to gain exposure to the Sonic ecosystem, is buy into ecosystem projects, and that way I'm diversified within the ecosystem via market cap, via narrative, and obviously still keeping within the Sonic narrative, which you guys know that I'm bullish on Sonic. And if we keep on going down, we do see dips everywhere, guys. 15% on average, give or take, depending on what we're looking at. Some of them 20, some of them 10, but on average about 15%, as you can see, guys. Dips everywhere. Accumulate, guys. Slow and steady. You don't have to go all in right now, but slow and steady. All right, guys, let's jump into some of these charts. I know you're to talk about price action, so let's begin. Let's see what Bitcoin is doing, because ultimately Bitcoin has been a bit of a headache. Why? Because we're getting pump and dumps, and this railroad track type of scenario here on the daily is not a good look ultimately. And really, if it becomes a bearish engulfing candle, guys, it's not a good look altogether for Bitcoin and its price. All right, guys, let's take a look at this in a little bit more detail. Now, I'm not going to come out here and be totally bearish here today, but what I am going to do is be real. The reality is that seeing the Bitcoin price back pretty much where it came from is not very good. Okay, that means that this was a pure pump and dump scenario. Very unfortunate. However, yesterday it was very clear to me that the market is preparing for that CME gap close. Let's talk about the CME gap close for a second. Now, I'm not talking about the old CME gap that was down here that we did close. It started at about 80,000 and it came down to about 77 more or less, or 78, sorry, and it filled it based on this wick. But because this weekend was so strong, we closed Friday down here, and we ended up pumping all the way up to here and opening right around 93,000 more or less. Which meant that today, on Monday, we had a CME gap that needed to be closed. Now, it doesn't need to be closed. Let me correct myself. It doesn't need to be closed, but statistically speaking, they do close. But what was more important is that the retail market, and even traders, even individuals that have been around for this space, got a great reminder. A reminder that the CME gaps do sometimes close. And the fact is that it did close one of the most important CME gaps in the last little while, which is the one that I just spoke about. So guess what? Everybody's expecting the CME gap to close once again. We got re-educated about a topic, about something that usually does happen in this space. And if you've been around in these cycles, you've noticed most of the times, any pumps throughout the weekend, we get responses, bearish responses, because of the CME gap close. And this is exactly what happened. This gives me indications or similarities of previous cycles. Now, you can see that I don't like where the price is right now. This is a full one-to-one retracement back to previous lows. And as you can see, we should be bullish here. But right now, we're above right now, a very important level, given the fact that we are testing more or less the 200 daily EMA. We are above the volume gap, which presents a lot of weakness. And now, if we start breaking down, unfortunately, we have no choice but to be bearish and back to those bearish price targets of about 73, 72,000, where we start hunting liquidity down to here. Guys, is this possible? Is this possible? You know what? It is. And last night on the live stream, I made it very clear in addition that the only way we would be continue bullish is if we flag out right here. If you missed out on the live stream, guys, I highly suggest that you join. It is a great time and place to make requests on any projects that you may have. I do charts and TA. But in addition, we do market updates. We talk about what to expect for the next day. And this is why we stay one step ahead. I do my afternoon video, which is this one, and my evening live stream, which is an hour-long live stream where we talk about different concepts and we prepare for the following day. And you can see that we were well prepared for this rejection. We got rejected right here on the 4-hour, the 200 EMA on the 4-hour. We came up and we saw signs of weakness in the charts, and then all of a sudden, the only way I would maintain a bullish stance is if we got a continuation pattern. But guess what, guys? We didn't get it. And with that CME gap right here, you know, that was one of the weaknesses or one of the issues that I had, because ultimately we've got educated about that previous CME gap, that this current CME gap was almost like fresh in our mind. So guess what, guys? We came down and we're getting a bit of a bounce. We came down to about 85,000 pretty perfectly, 85,800. give or take, and now we're getting a bit of a response on that green candle. What does that tell you? That tells you exactly what I've been saying on the Discord all day long, is that people are now with the CME gap idea, and they are basically fulfilling the prophecy by waiting for it to get filled. Well, guess what, guys? It's full. Okay, it filled, it came down. So guess what? I'm going to leave it here for a little bit because we're going to talk about it again tonight for some of you. But the reality is, what we have to pay attention on next is this retracement, because the only way we remain bullish here is if we make a higher low. And in fact, it would be the most bullish higher low ever, because it would backtest this horizontal support, a very important level of horizontal support, because like I mentioned, that the weak spot below presents a lot of weakness that could cause the price to fall to 73, 72, maybe a little bit lower if it wants to hunt liquidity. So if we get this higher low here, it would be super bullish. Let's take a swing low to a swing high and understand that the rejection might bring us down even a little bit lower. Down to the golden pocket, 786, right around here, 84,700, possible. Could we get up some support right now? Anything's possible, guys. Sure, we could get some support right now. Could we come down to the 786? Why not? 886? Sure. All the way down 1-to-1, maybe for a double bottom. Okay, so all of this area is, as we come down, we increase the probability of a reversal. And the highest probability, statistically speaking, has always been the golden pocket retracement, which is right now landing at about $84,360, give or take. So I would say that if we start showing some support here on lower time frames, and right now I'm on the 4 hour, guys. I like the 4 hour time frame. If we can get signs of divergence and follow through on the 4 hour time frame, that would be great, because ultimately the 4 hour would give us a nice push to the upside. If we go on lower time frames, we got to be quick in and out scalping, and on the 4 hour it could be giving us a big pivot point structure, nice V recovery, nice rounded bottom, Adam and Eve structure could give us a nice breakout that could take us to about $100, $103, $104,000, which, guys, obviously we would see this market totally crank to the upside. Now, we saw that we got overbought on the 4 hour, and maybe we get down oversold. I see the volatility finally fully reset. The question is, do we go for another impulsive move up where we see the momentum, the purple line, get more overbought? We got overbought a little bit. It's not in an extreme way, maybe a little bit more extreme, maybe a little bit more aggressive. That would be ideal, and then we could possibly see the orange line, which is this one right here, finally reset and get a nice recovery to the upside. I wouldn't mind taking it long based on the full reset of volatility. The problem is that I want to see some support here, because a higher low right into this zone would give us the change of character. We want the change of character. We finally want to see a higher low or a higher high. The good news is that we kind of made some higher highs by breaking above this previous local highs, which is nice, very, very nice. We totally got all of this liquidity. Now all of a sudden we come down for a higher low, and then we break above this high. We start breaking structure. It starts to confirm a change of direction, a pivot point structure. And because of this follow through from this bullish divergence, class A bullish divergence right into here, eventually maybe we go for another impulse to move to the upside. It would be ideal. No guarantees, guys. This is the issue here. Because we've gotten overbought, it could be possible that we're looking for a fully oversold state. Now, maybe a bit of a relief here. That would be ideal. Maybe a rejection right around 90,957. That would be ideal. Guys, I wouldn't be doing any trading right now on leverage or anything risky. What I would be doing is DCAing on spot. I think that's a safer play right now, because you can see that even the trend oscillator on the 4 hour, we got an EMA cross to the downside, red histogram bars, and this expansion is already really hot. And if you notice that every time we go from purple to pale purple, we tend to want to dip, and even the opposite, blue to pale blue, we tend to want to start moving upwards, and we start to see bullish divergences and follow throughs and all of that. So we've done really well here on the 4 hour. The question is how much more manipulation can we handle here? Emotional manipulation as well, because this is a very emotional market in the last little while with all these ups and downs. And then nonetheless, how much lower do we go to anticipate more of a corrective measure here on Bitcoin? Because the reality is Bitcoin didn't really finish or show us an indication of a completion of this correction. This wick could definitely get filled as well, and this is part of the fear that is currently mingling in this market, and we have to address this fear by saying, you know what, maybe fear is the time to buy, and it usually is. Just, guys, don't forget the fear greed index came down to about 10, which is really low, and that's how we got the quick buy up. That looks like a bottom. This candle looks like a bottom. The problem is this railroad track retracement. This is the biggest problem right now, because this is going to show, especially if we close like this on the daily, it's going to look pretty bad, and people are going to lose faith in this pump. And then the worry comes is that, do we continue the sell-off? And if we start looking on the 4-day, for example, momentum's still in a downtrend. EMAs are still facing down. Red histogram bars to the downside. It's still a very bearish looking scenario on higher time frames, even on the 4-day. Now, the weekly is too large. I'm not going to go there, but at least give us a bit of relief to see that we can start, invalidating some of this negativity and start maybe getting some divergence, bullish divergence with massive expansions, at least hitting about 120, 130, and then we can make some critical decisions on what happens with the altcoins. Because right now, Bitcoin, the way it looks, it's playing games. It's inducing a lot of emotions, fearful emotions, and even euphoric emotions. Yesterday was a very euphoric market for those few hours as we were rallying, and right now it totally wiped it all off. Okay, guys, so we got to understand this is an emotional roller coaster as well, and it gets very, very tiring as well. So take care of yourself mentally and obviously economically. Make sure you don't blow up any accounts. Now, this bounce could be really good. I think a little bit more data would be awesome before we make some major decisions here. We can even get as low as the 4-hour to support our thesis. Just ultimately, if we get a bit of structure right here, we might want to get in with a stop loss right underneath, maybe at about 84,000, and anticipate a quick move to the upside again, and ultimately waiting for a higher high or even a 1-to-1 retracement back to previous highs, which would take us to about 94,400 more or less, and then we can make some decisions as to what we do, because really the CME gap that we've been waiting for today has officially been filled, so it's done. All right, guys, so maybe smooth sailing to the upside, and I would definitely be looking for opportunities, but risk management is absolutely important at the current moment. All right, guys, if I've offered you any value in this video, do the channel a massive favor, slap the like button. It does really help out with the algorithm. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description. Better yet, guys, join the Discord. The Discord is where it's at. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, and learning material. The best part is it's absolutely free. Take care, guys, have a good one, and don't forget, buy the dip.